And welcome everybody to another episode of Mac Yak, episode number 172. And we have a special guest with us tonight, Kate, the Macintosh Librarian. So say hi.
Hey guys.
Yep.
I thought I was the special guest.
No, you're always on here, so you're not special.
Fine.
And you're not a guest.
Not especially good looking either.
Exactly. Thank you, Angel. Thank you very much for the $5. The Queen is dead. Long live the King. I don't know if we would say that over here in America, but hey. Anyway,
look at Bruce pretending like he's been here the whole time.
Yeah.
He just talk about last minute entry.
Yeah, he just popped in right as the last few notes were playing on the intro.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Wait, that's Kate's. Your microphone's going berserk on you, Kate.
Oh wow! I knew it was messed up.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to start blaming StreamYard at this point because it hits everybody at random.
Yes.
So, refund.
Yep. It's your microphone, so you might want to change or turn it off, turn it back on, something like that.
Universal IT advice, huh?
Yeah, the ON/OFF switch. Yeah, come on now. That's always the first thing you always do. So, anyways, guys, welcome to another episode. And you guys done anything good this week? Anything fun, interesting? Jay, how about you? What have you been doing?
Come on.
Okay.
Make something up.
Yeah, I think he's been doing nothing.
Yeah, I haven't done nothing. I got a little bit of a cold this weekend, so I just took it for a few days.
I saw you lift things up off the floor of your basement. That's something.
Yep, probably.
Did you have a
Worth
choice?
mentioning.
Flooding?
No, I reorganized some stuff. I set up my 3D printer again. Haven't connected it yet, but it has a spot.
Impressive.
Yeah.
So are we going to
have
see?
to remember how to hook up the Raspberry Pi with Octoprint and all the settings and the firmware and tweak it all, and I forgot everything. All
All you got to do is hook up the Raspberry Pi, turn it on, and it'll work. If you've already had it before.
Yeah, but the last time it was connected, it didn't work so well. So
Well, that's your fault.
it is. But yeah, I was gonna recap some power supplies this weekend and do some repair-y stuff, but then 5 boxes of 135 pounds each arrived, containing the parts for a giant play set that I have to build in the backyard. So no repairs for me.
Yeah, Nick says you need to start printing some beige parts.
No, that's Joe. Joe has the filament secret recipe for beige, right?
Yes, he does. It's he's got the particular color, and I think he might even be planning to sell it or something at some stage. One of the big problems is I've priced getting some out here, and it is obscenely expensive. Once you get the cost of the filament and the cost of the shipping, you've got to really want that beige, I'm telling you.
Well, you know what's funny is I use the bone white, and it looks close to the beige. I mean, it's not exactly, but it's close.
Can't you just take white, put it out in the sun for a few days, get beige?
It'll be great.
Your mic is still wonky there, Kate.
It's buzzing. It's sort of like a buzzing sound.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's because she's on those Apple AirPods.
No, she's actually on a Yeti, so it might be the Yeti.
I thought she had the AirPods.
Well, that's the common theme. Every time this happens to someone, they've got a Yeti.
Not true. I don't have one.
Yeah,
I
but
hope it strikes you next, Bruce. You on your high horse road labeled. You're next. You're next. Just wait.
All right, Mike, have you been doing anything this week?
Yeah, I spent last week laid up in bed with COVID.
Oh, that's not good. I think somebody shares that with you down below you right there.
Yeah, I got COVID. I broke my COVID cherry. I got it.
Don't talk about
what is it?
crap. You don't want to know what. So last week, you guys want to know how crappy my week was. So I got COVID, and of course, with me having emphysema, it makes it even worse. So, but luckily I didn't end up in the hospital or anything, so that's good. My air conditioner in my living room died. It's been like 95 degrees here all week. My MacBook Pro died. My voltage regulator for my GPU must have come unsoldered from the logic board. So now I got to send that out to Jay to get fixed. The power went off one day. So I went down to go get in my company car to run the air conditioner so I could stay cool because it was like 98 degrees that day. Damn car overheated on me.
Okay. Oh, we're gonna start calling you
I was
Grudy.
honestly about ready to go out and just play in traffic and just call it a day.
We're gonna start calling you Grudy Jr. there, man.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was just a week from hell.
Yes, maybe the Grudy luck is contagious. I don't know.
Yeah. And now his camera's not focusing.
Luckily, this week's been pretty good. I finally got over it. I wasn't contagious as of Monday, so I went back to work, and I felt like crap the last 2 days. But now today, I woke up. I felt normal, fairly normal. I still can't taste or smell anything, which really blows.
Yeah.
I lost my sense of smell for about probably 3 or 4 days. Which was very annoying, especially annoying more than anything during cooking. You know, I found when I was cooking and I was trying to smell what I was cooking, and it's like, I don't know, is this right or not? So it was,
right now I'm just eating to sustain myself. I'm not eating because I enjoy it, which really sucks when you're a fat guy.
Or it might just be a good thing when you're a fat guy.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that? I had it too, and I had never lost either one. So I don't know.
I had no smell or taste for about a month.
My wife had it as well. She didn't lose her sense of smell at all during the time. So yeah,
I had it too, and I didn't lose my sense of smell or taste. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, that is perfect now. Welcome to the
show. Yes. So now I'm using my MacBook's audio. So
okay.
Yes.
So
thank you for having me on.
Yes. So Kate, have you done anything fun or exciting?
So I've been setting up a new room in my house. It's kind of like the Next library annex, where I got a Next cube and a couple Next slabs, a color slab and a black and white slab, and a couple of SGI machines. And I've been trying to get them working and setting them up on a nice built-in desk that was built in the 70s. So it's been fun and kind of a challenge getting some of these machines working because they're new territory for me.
That's good.
What is a color slab?
It is essentially a Next pizza box computer, but it has a color chip in it, and it has a
color. It's like the difference between a Mac Plus and a Mac 2. One's black.
Yeah, I don't know those
color.
two either.
It's not all of us are as lucky or as wealthy to own Next devices. I have only I don't think I've ever even seen one in person, let alone owning one. I don't think the chances of me ever owning one will ever happen. Did you tell us about how you acquired these, Kate?
So I have a good friend that I met. Actually, I've been finding myself meeting more strangers from the internet since I started my YouTube channel.
That's how every good story starts.
I met a bad came from
that. I was going to say that's how every horror story, yeah.
Right. Or an awesome story where you get rare computers like SGIs and Nextcube. But I found a good friend of mine named Jennifer. She lives in a town nearby, and she had amassed a massive collection of computers for the last couple decades. She's been collecting computers, and so two women that collect computers is kind of a rarity, much less within this 4 hours from each other. So she offered she wanted to clean up some rooms of her house, and part of that was this Next cube. And I also got some other machines from her, like this Macintosh portable. And I've been to her house a few times. So I'm very lucky. Let's just say I'm very lucky to have a good friend.
Bruce is jealous. Look at him.
Yes, just a little bit.
Well, that's America, right? It's all, especially when you're, it's schools and old stuff. She collected this stuff back in like 2000, I don't know, 8. Since then, I think so. I think she got it at the prime time when things weren't as expensive.
I know you're our guest here, and we're supposed to be nice, but I think you're pretty selfish for not sending us a message like, "Hey, I know someone with a house full of computers. Would you guys like to split it?"
No, she's being selfish. See, that's what it is.
No, it's I can't just be like bust down the doors to her house and get her computer. She has other stuff, and she offered me a select few computers from her collection. So I mean, I did pay for them too, so it wasn't like they were given to me for free. So.
I take it the Nextcube does work?
It does work. Right now I just moved it up here. So just to show it off, but it was down in the library annex and it works fine.
Bruce hides it well, but that's his "I'm happy for you" face.
Right well
done.
Says I'm buying my ticket now to Texas.
Another friend of the show, Madeline, who obviously she's been on a couple of times. She also has a Nextcube, but she had to get it shipped out here from the US. I mean, they just don't turn up here at all.
They're heavy too. They're not good to ship, I would imagine. Especially the monitors.
I think I saw a picture that you put on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media we're on these days that showed the back of the Nextcube with a bunch of like 4 made giant cards in it or something.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
So I don't have the book with me, but I bought a book on eBay it's a seller that he's kind of like the resource of Next computers called Black Hole Computing. But he had a Next book that either he helped publish or he sells. But in that book, it has a history of Next, and it shows off some of the use cases of these computers. And one of the use cases they showed was that essentially in the back of a Nextcube, there's like 4 slots, right? One is occupied by the motherboard. And typically on a stock machine, the other 3 are empty. But you can, if you happen to be lucky and have 4 working motherboards, you can occupy the entire Nextcube with working motherboards and have it essentially act as 4 separate machines.
Wow.
And
is that what yours has?
So mine just has 1. That was a screenshot from the book. I didn't know what other preparables or cards that could go in the Nextcube. So I was like, oh, here's actually a use case for it where they can run like a server on one of the motherboards and then actually use it on the other, host like a multi-headed machine in like a university system.
I think you should outdo Bruce. Bruce has a website running on some kind of beige thing. You should set up a web server on that thing and say, "Hey, Bruce,
that would be appropriate for the Next." And the Next was actually the first web server.
No kidding.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, there's one. The one that is in a museum, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It was created. I can't remember his name. Tim something Lee, and he created the first web browser called World Wide Web, and that was on the Next.
Maybe Apple still has. Maybe Apple still has one of those Next boxes in their basement, and that's dedicated to running Steve's iCloud or something. That'd be awesome.
No, that's the Mobile Me. That's Mobile Me. If anybody remembers that was a disaster. Bruce.
Has everyone here seen Steve's iCloud video? I'm just curious to say, has everyone watched?
No, I have not seen it yet. I need to watch it.
Yelling at the screen.
I was paid handsomely to invest my time.
All right, so Bruce, something about a chook cam here being offline for a while. What is up with that?
Yes, my apologies. Look, that will be coming back online soon. So I've been very busily making a video over the last few days. And it's involved me doing quite a lot of work down in the workshop, and that's where the streaming computer is. And I was having to use that computer and muck around with audio and stuff like that. And so it just became totally impractical to run the chook cam while I was making the video. Well, the video is made. That will be going live right after the show. And And so now I can bring the chooks back to the world. They have, I think, just about destroyed the microphone that I put down there because I put it up against this wall, and the blind chicken, I have a blind chicken, the blind chicken walks along the wall to find her way. She's needless to say, because she's blind, so she walks to when she gets to the wall, and then she walks along the wall to get to where she's going. And that's where I put the microphone. That's a very smart thing that I did. And so every time she walks across, she just knocks the microphone over.
So you deliberately put an obstacle in the path of a blind chicken.
I did not realize that this was the situation until after it got knocked over like the fourth time. So
Such a nice guy, this Bruce.
Nice guy. He didn't watch his own chook cam, huh?
I shuffle things around all the time.
All right, so we know Bruce got a video coming out. Myself, I haven't done much of anything this week, so that's all there is to it. So let's go ahead and get on to some of the topics in the show. Now, Apple had an event, yesterday? And I know Kate and I were pretty active in the chat on the MacYac Discord channel there. And that's the reason why we invited Kate over, because she was like, ooh, every new little thing that came out.
It's always like a little holiday for me, these Apple events.
Yes.
I enjoy them. It's like a sports event for me.
That's the first one I enjoyed in a while, actually.
Although, to be honest with you, my perception of it is they're getting stale, and it's always the one word that I hate hearing every time. It's the best iPhone or the best Apple Watch we've ever. It's like, of course, it's better be the best because it's newer.
For $1,500, it better be. Yeah.
So the first thing they talked about at the event was the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch, as far as the Series 8 goes, doesn't look any different than the Series 7, except they did add one new little feature to it, a temperature sensor for, ovulation detection or whatever they call it. And it's supposed to, I think the battery's supposed to last a little bit longer too, is what they said.
Yeah, a little bit. To me, it seems very, very, very similar to the Series 7. Like, I think they just had to do that next iteration just for the sake of iterating. And so they added the temperature sensor. And so, I mean, yes, women can use a temperature sensor, but I think it would be available in probably their watch API for their health apps. So like if you are using the health app, it probably keeps track of your temperature. I don't know because we'll have to see when we get it. But really the crash detection. So
I was going to say, I was just going to say crash.
Yeah. Sorry.
You're probably dead. No. And you're probably dead, but your watch will know, hey, you crashed.
Well, the phone also has the crash detection. So, I mean, if you have a phone, sort of that will do the same thing. Taking someone's temperature off the back of their wrist is a notoriously bad place to do it. You'll notice when you go to the doctor and they take your temperature, they don't do it from the back of your wrist. So the temperature sensor
the watch is blocking it. That's why.
Yeah, well, it's more of a novelty than anything. The fact that they had to use it for
what happened to his audio? Bruce's audio just died.
Not just the Yeti.
What happened?
Your audio you faded out.
Now it's back.
Was that Steve? It was Steve's
fault. No.
It was definitely Steve's fault.
I think it's
on the other side of the world. Come on.
You cannot tell me that was just coincidence. Steve arrives, my audio gets turned down. Come on.
All right, bye.
Excuse me. Sorry, COVID.
I'm sorry, Father. I'm sorry.
So all I was basically saying is that putting a temperature sensor in the watch is more of a novelty than anything, and the fact that they've been able to apply it to sort of cycle monitoring and stuff like that, I think that's a good thing. I think I definitely think it's a good feature, but I don't know how accurate it's going to be.
Well, I mean, there's a Bluetooth accessory. There's a Bluetooth accessory, Bruce, but it goes somewhere you may not want it.
Oh, in the ear?
Sure.
No.
No, but
Yes,
actually,
again.
it's pretty accurate because a single reading doesn't tell you anything. It's the total of day and night tracking.
Right.
It's like, hey, you're 0.5 degrees higher. Tell your husband to hide.
Yeah.
That's basically.
It's tracking trends and tracking the deltas, the minute deltas that happen for temperatures. I know that I have a friend that uses a ring on her finger and it does something similar where it keeps temperature. I mean, it's also like a health fitness thing, but like she was like, well, the Apple Watch doesn't have temperature tracking and this does. So she uses it for that. It's
So now
just
she
one
will
little
have it.
feature. Yeah, right. It's just one extra little feature. I mean, if you already have a Series 7, I don't really see a need to update to Series 8 at all. But if you're back on a 3 or a 4 or even a 5 like myself, I'm considering it. So
I went from the 5 to the 7, and I'm probably going to stick with the 7. But to be honest with you, the crash detection, get back to that. I'm not sure why they couldn't do that in the 7 because it has accelerometers. I mean, they didn't really go much into the details of what they did with accelerometers.
It's apparently it's not just accelerometers. It was also detecting changes in air pressure. So, like if an airbag is being inflated, it creates a very immediate change in air pressure, and that was one of the things it was detecting. So,
And I don't think it uses the main accelerometer for crash detection. I think, from what I understood, it has one that's calibrated for much higher G-forces. And that's, probably why. I'm sure they
Otherwise
could
you
put
would-
it in our current devices with a software update, but would it be as reliable? I don't know.
right.
Yeah,
I don't
Tracking,
know.
you don't want to get
do.
false positives on something like this, right?
I mean, it does have fall detection already. I mean, what's the,
Well, you could test that out for us, Greg. If you want to fall inside of a vehicle that's crashing and let us
that's
know if
great.
I'm going to let the other Greg do that.
Well, I'm sorry, you're the one that brought it up. You're here, so I think you have to do it for us. It's your idea.
The other Greg
I
probably
don't
already
crash
done
as much as the other Greg. All right,
There is something
right.
really important I'd like to add about the Apple Watch, and my apologies, GT, if this is
No.
something you were just about to say. But one really important thing is that they are no longer selling the Series 3.
Yep.
Now, I have a Series 3. I have nothing wrong with the Series 3, but it was pretty silly that they were still selling that, given how old it was.
Well, plus the fact that how you had to update the software too was janky, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let's just say the reason I'm not wearing my Series 3 now is because the battery died and it's somewhere in the house and I have no idea where it is.
All right.
Yeah, but,
so
hold
go
on. One thing I want to point out about the Apple Watch, not the hardware. This specific version. What is it? 8, 7, 9?
Ocho.
Yep.
it's the 8.
I don't know. I have a 5 and no reason to upgrade ever until it breaks. But the testimonials from people, and they do this every time. Like, hey, a bear attacked me and I threw my watch at it and it ran away or something. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I know that the watch helps people. It has legitimate medical, warning things built in. Great, you hear it every time. But 2 weeks ago, it happened with my mother-in-law. We gave her a watch specifically for blood oxygen and heart tracking, and we got a warning. Said, hey, your mother-in-law has been sleeping for a few hours. Her heart rate is pretty much gone, and the oxygen saturation or something is super low, and she has the sleep apnea. So she was sleeping just fine, nearly dead, but sleeping like a baby, and she didn't know. But we knew, so we were able to call my wife's sister, have her woken up, get to the ER, get checked out. So I think it's really cool the way that the Apple Watch is. I have no statistics for this, but I'm sure that it has saved a lot of lives or
I
prevented
believe it has
a lot
too.
of harm. Yeah,
And
so-
Apple is of course using that in their marketing heavily.
Oh, yeah.
With the watch, and look, it's generally regarded, the Apple Watch is generally regarded as the best smartwatch out on the market now. It's expensive. You pay a premium for it. I get that. But it is generally regarded as the best one out there at the moment. And so, to keep adding these sorts of features, these safety features and things like that, I mean, I think it just affirms that, really. It just, keeps it so the people that are buying them will keep upgrading. I mean, I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think Bruce needs to buy the extreme Apple Watch and then, put it with his chickens and see what happens.
The Ultra.
Well, that's what I was just getting ready to talk about, and I got this is the new Apple Ultra watch.
It's for all of us because we're so athletic.
Watch.
Yeah. It's funny because when we were talking about this, before they even mentioned it, because I told Kate and I said, I bet you it's going to cost about $800 before they even mentioned it. And what was the price? $799. I was like, damn, I was right on the money there.
The rumors about this, because I knew this was coming, the rumors about this, they were saying they were expecting it to be at a price at around about $1,000. So it actually came as a pleasant surprise to the rumor mill. But one of the things you have to remember about this watch is that this is looking at a very specific market. And if they crack the diving market, who are apparently extremely finicky about their watches, getting a good quality diving watch is going to cost you well north of $1,000. So if they crack the diving market with this is actually a bargain.
Well, they're partnered up with someone that makes diving computers, right? The app that they have on there.
They have indeed. Yep.
I just love how people were talking about their terrible experiences with these Garmin watches that are meant for these specific scenarios of hiking and all this stuff, and then. You even see pictures of those satellite tracking devices and all this stuff to, calculate all these things. It's like, this is on a watch that's like the size of like two of your fingers together. It's like, it's crazy how they could shove all this technology into something so small to have a full-fledged computer on your wrist that, could do all these things. It's just phenomenal. I mean, it's, when the Apple Watch first came out, I'm like, okay, yeah, I have a Pebble Watch. It does basically the same thing. It tells me the time, tells me when somebody text messaged me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like this watch has more computing power than, the first iPhone did, which is nuts to think about.
The couple of things about this, I think the night vision with red is excellent. For anyone who's ever done any amateur astronomy, when you are in the dark and your eyes adjust to the dark, you use red light to stop your eyes from readjusting. Right. So you being able to have if you're out somewhere at night and your eyes have adjusted, to be able to look down and see the time with the red light, so that your eyes don't your eyes don't readjust to the brightness of your watch, I think is a really, really good feature. The only thing I would say about this watch is it is freaking massive. And
that's what I like about it.
Well, look, I mean, my hands are so big, it's like I'm wearing boxing gloves. And so a watch like that on my wrist will look fine, but it's going to look ridiculous on some people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm not
what's funny is I have
so big.
Well, I have Fossil watches that are huge, and I like the big watches, and that would be something I'd want, but I'm not going to pay $800 for it because I won't use nowhere near even 90% of the features on it.
Even with my wildest alcohol-infused excuses, I could not justify getting this watch. I want it. I want it because it is, frankly, the first time I've been impressed with an Apple product in a while. They saw an opportunity in a specific market. They went for it, and on paper, they nailed it. It's everything that any of those people would want, and probably going to improve with software updates and all that. So
I'm impressed. The 36-hour battery life is also something that people have been clamoring for, to have an all-day plus battery life on this. And this is a high-end watch, competing with people that do ultra marathons and go diving and mountain climbing. Like, these are rich people that have this time, and so it's not for the masses, but I can definitely see it, people that want high-end
Yeah.
buying that.
I mean, every Ultra has cellular built in, so you're probably going to be able to get it for what, $20 a month from AT&T or something. Might be affordable. What I'm curious about is the battery life, because I'm sure they can pull off the battery life, but can you maintain that kind of battery life when it's minus 20 Celsius or 150 outside? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
That'd be a good test, Jay. You signing up?
There you go. You sign up, Jay?
I'll do the cold test, and you'll do the hot test. Oh dear.
Oh Lord, is this Daner?
Hey, Daner.
All right, so the next product that they mentioned was AirPods. Okay, and basically, to be honest with you, I don't see really much improvement at all from the second gen to the third gen AirPods. They almost look identical to the old ones.
Well, can I take this one then?
Go for it.
There are a few things that I think are a significant improvement with this one. The first is the fact that you can charge them now with your watch charger, which I don't think you could do before. Another is there are lots of different sizes. As someone who virtually cannot wear AirPods or cannot wear pod headphones at all, because the minute I put them in, within about 60 seconds, I'm in pain. They've got a whole stack of different sized little things for the end of them so that you can potentially make it more, sort of it fit more ears. I guess that's an important thing. So I think that's quite good. And apparently they've made some improvements with the sound. Apparently they will sound way better than the originals, and from my understanding, the originals were pretty darn good. I wouldn't know because I can't freaking wear them, but
Well, to be honest with you, I actually have these, which Apple makes as well because they own Beats. But these actually pretty much are almost an AirPod Pros. They have the noise cancellation, active noise cancellation, and also passive. But it also pass through, so you can actually touch it and let the outside sounds come in. However, this one has something a lot better that the AirPods do not have, and we're going to get with the iPhone is it doesn't have a lightning connector on it. This has USB-C. That still has a lightning jack on the bottom of it, of the charging case. So why can't they go up to USB-C?
You need the lightning fast transfer speeds for your earphones?
No. But everything's going. Oh, go ahead, Kate.
The USB-C transition will happen all at once across their product line if that happens, right? Like they can't just do the headphones. Well, of course, the iPad.
The iPads have USB-C on them, so
not all at
I think
once.
they're
So
trying to cater the iPad to be more like a computer.
Yeah.
When the iPhone goes USB-C, that case will go USB-C because they go hand in hand. They're trying to sell you the AirPods because you don't have a damn headphone jack on the iPhone anymore. So when that switches over, that'll switch over. But you could charge it, like Bruce was saying. There's two case models now for the AirPods. There's one that just has Lightning port. Then there's one that can work with your Apple Watch charger or the wireless Qi chargers. Cheapo, disc charger that are only 5 volts or whatever. It'll work with any of those. So. At least you could do that, but no, I agree. It's stupid, but
that's another thing too. Why did they not make the watch Qi compatible instead of having a separate charger?
Because there's a limit to the voltage that you could shove through that standard. I think it's 7 watts or something like that. And because when the iPhone 8
Firewire is still better.
Yes, all the fire goes in there, charges it real quick. But when the iPhone 8 came out, I believe the first firmware you were only limited by 5 watts. I think they changed that in iOS update. But that standard has been around for longer than Apple has used it. So I think in order for them to use the Apple Watch and have it fast charge and everything, they needed something different. And of course, it's Apple; they're going to have their own proprietary thing and all that stuff. But
I have heard that
because they couldn't even get their AirPad charging, whatever the heck, out to market.
You mean the vaporware?
I've heard that the Beats pair particularly well with Bears and Battlestar Galactica.
Well, actually, these actually pair exactly the same as the AirPods. You open up the case and it pops up on your phone just like AirPods. It says Beats, uh,
Yeah, the same.
sound.
I have these. That's the same thing. It's using that. It was the Apple W1 chip or something that they shoved in there
Yeah.
for the wearables. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think the AirPods they have some. These are the AirPods we should have had with the first generation. Like putting a speaker in the case so you can actually find it when you're looking for it. What a concept! Because when you lose them and you send that little signal, it's like good luck. If you're not within 2 feet of them, you're not going to find them.
I have a
better
little
audio. It's fine.
AirTag on my. I have like a little keychain case for my AirPods Pro.
Well, you won't need it
case.
for
See, that's stupid. I mean, it's not stupid that you did it,
I
but
know,
it's
but
stupid that you had to resort to that because they didn't have a speaker.
Because
That's
I
stupid.
would always put my headphones in and then leave the case at my desk or on a counter and then walk away, and then my headphones would beep after like 5 hours and I'd be like, "Where's the case?" And so I needed that.
When it comes to the audio improvement, yeah, sure, great. Better frequency range, I think. I was really disappointed that there were no improvement whatsoever for hearing impaired people. Apple has been buying up patents, working with other companies to improve what the AirPod and specifically the AirPod Pro can do for hearing impaired people. And now, at least in the US, they have allowed the start of sale for over-counter selling of hearing aids. I don't know the exact details, but the competition is about to be a lot fiercer in that arena. They should have jumped on that.
yeah.
I know.
And finally, why don't we have? Didn't they 2 years ago said there was a charging pad coming for your phone?
Well, we just talked about that, Jay.
What?
Steve talked about it.
Yeah, they abandoned that. Now they have a different one that just does the two things.
Yeah.
Well, lame.
But the one that does the two things, one of them, it does a watch. So if you've got the case that you can charge from your watch one, then you can do that. You just can't do it your phone and your watch and your headphones at the same time.
Well, you can if you have duct tape and two of them.
The volume control is a nice added feature. The slide up and down volume control on the I think that's a really good addition.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things because these have an up and down button on them, and I use that a lot when I'm listening to music or just walking around. And not that I need a pair of AirPods or I was even contemplating getting one, but by looking at the specs, there was no way to control that in a good way, and so that was interesting because you're not always by your phone, especially with Bluetooth. You could be 30, 40 feet away. So,
Well, Kate, you have the AirPod Max there, so how do you like those?
I use them every day for work, for video calls and everything, and I find them to be pretty comfortable. I love the quality is fine for me, and the volume. The real biggie that I love compared to the Pro is the volume control, right? The volume right here and the little crown, that's nice. And then the little button right here that does this different sound cancellation. But I was going to mention to Jay's comment about the headphone audio accommodations for hearing impaired people. I know that I think it's in iOS 15, but maybe it's a new thing in the beta in 16 is the hearing headphone accommodations where it amplifies talking.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the accessibility settings, that probably already exists.
It works pretty well, but it's what you would expect from a first attempt. It's great if you're sitting across from each other. That what I don't know exactly how they call it, beam forming or something. It does really well. You step outside or you go into a restaurant, forget about it. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So and I'm sure a company like Apple with billions of dollars in R&D, I'm sure they could figure it out. So hopefully next time.
And I'm sure there are also a lot of patents for that stuff by existing companies out there, and they do not want to lose money. They have a pretty tight grip on that market. I know with my grandmother, the hearing aids, which were not cheap. They're
expensive.
Yeah, they are not going to relinquish that pretty easily.
Yeah, but it's Apple. If
Oh,
if they
yeah, I
want to
hope
build
they do.
something
Yeah, sure.
that someone else has a patent to, they do it anyway, get sued, pay $5, and be done with it, and then they can use it, right?
Clear out Tim Cook's pocket change. We have to
Yeah,
pay
right.
these lawyers.
I have some here.
All right. So, anything else on the AirPods before we move on to the?
Yes. On a positive note, the lady that did the AirPods presentation, I hope she never comes back. All right, now I'm done. It looked like a damn Disney presentation. She was way too happy, and it freaked me out.
One of the things I wanted to mention too, I almost forgot. I'm glad you mentioned this, Jay, because Kate and I were talking about this in the Discord chat. Was that when they did that, where they showed the guy was jackhammering out there, and she just like goes like this, and the jackhammering just goes completely away. I'm like, really? You're going to sit there and sell that as noise cancellation?
Yeah.
An illustration. It was a marketing illustration of
I know it
if
was,
you're
but
walking by.
Yeah, I think
my-
GT, you need a class in marketing 101 because when you were saying earlier, but they always say it's the best iPhone ever. What is Apple going to say? Yeah, we made it a little bit better. Why don't you give us $1,000? You know, that's not how you sell things.
they could come up with a different saying, though, is what I'm
No,
saying.
because that's universally everyone knows what the stupid jackhammer sounds like, and everyone's annoyed of it.
So I'll give the AirPods my full recommendation if I test them and they can completely eliminate the sound of my 6-year-old. If it can do that.
Those cost extra.
All right, looks like you're going to be returning those, Jay.
AirPods Pro are really good airplane headphones. Like they are comfortable. You can leave them in for a while, and they block out the noise of the engines pretty well. And kids crying. And
I have these Quiet Comfort 3s that I use all the time. So,
What are the ones that fit over your whole ear? What are they called? The
AirPods
headphones?
Max.
AirPod
Okay.
Max, yeah.
That's what I need because no one has ever built an ear pod that I can wear. They just they fall
I'm
out
happy
or
with
they hurt.
these.
Yeah, that's what Bruce was
Same
saying.
for me.
Yeah, like what Jay has. That's what I have to use, or these. But as far as the ones that go in your ear, I can't wear them. They either
I
fall
got
out or they hurt.
I got the AirPods for my wife, and I've never tried them or anything. And then one day we were at a concert, and I got these earplugs with a tiny hole in them, so it lets some sound through, and it doesn't distort it, but it muffles the rest.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there all happy. I'm happy with myself because they cost $7, and my wife is sitting there just chilling out. It's like, isn't it loud? I said, no, I got noise cancellation. Can't be as good as this. So we traded. Holy crap! I want some. They do noise cancellation really, really well. So if that improved even a little bit with these current models, the next generation, that might be a selling point that might get me there.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing that they announced at the event was the iPhone 14 and the 14 Pro. Now, the 14 basically looks pretty much identical to the old iPhone 13.
Steve Jobs' daughter was really happy with it.
Yeah, they made a few improvements on the camera. They made some improvements on they put the crash detection in there, just like the watch. And it also has satellite capabilities for emergencies only. So I think that's the three main features that they were talking about.
Did they make an improvement to the camera on the 14?
Yes.
I mean, I know they did on the 14 Pro, but
They did on the 14 a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Okay.
Now,
the front-facing camera is better.
Yes,
They've got autofocus on the front-facing camera.
Yeah,
But the back one's the same as the 13.
Yeah, I think it's the same 12 megapixel camera that was in the 13.
probably, but yeah. So, anyways, the 14 Pro. Now, the case looks the same as the 14.
Didn't you forget something here, GT?
What's that?
The most important thing?
What's that?
The notch is gone. The most horrible design decision ever.
Gone. But it's got this little, what they call the island. What do they call it? The
Dynamic island.
Yes.
It's a very Apple solution to the problem. You know, turn turns something which is a kind of a bad thing into a design feature, and that to me just kind of reeks of Apple. So I
But
think
in a
it's
good way.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
The notch was like, oh crap, we did not think this through. We're going into production tomorrow. You intern, figure it out. Voila, notch. This is like they actually put a week of thought into it, came up with something nice. Come on, who wants a notch? It's hideous.
Looking at the camera specs, because if you go on Apple's site, you can compare them. Comparing from the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 14 Pro, and then you could drop down to the iPhone 14. It looks like the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 14 non-Pro have the same camera system, except obviously you're losing a lens. But the 14 Pro is where you have that 48 megapixel main imagery, and better.
Yeah,
aperture.
I mean, and it's worth mentioning that although I believe you do have the option to take raw 48 megapixel photos, that's not the default. The default is that it is actually using that 48 megapixel camera to take better 12 megapixel photos.
Yes.
It's using
We should know more about the quality. When does this thing ship out?
Believe the
Pre-orders start tomorrow morning.
Okay, so the first reviewers are going to have it, let's say, next week. We're going to see some videos. By the time
actually available
the
starting
first
9/16.
photographer will take a 48 megapixel, what do they call it, Pro RAW photo, he's not going to be able to review it until a month from now, because that's how long it takes to transfer it over that lightning cable.
Well, I have Wi-Fi 6 now, which can get pretty fast speeds. So almost.
Yeah,
Actually, I think the 5G. I think the 5G on it's probably faster than that Lightning connector.
Eat up your whole data plan.
I just whenever I take 4K video on my phone, I just use AirDrop because it uses Wi-Fi 6 from my new MacBook to my iPhone. It's pretty fast.
Yeah.
I think the satellite feature, which is something we just mentioned before, I think that's an interesting one, in particular for people who do bushwalking and all that sort of stuff and are potentially going to be outside of cell range. Obviously, it doesn't allow you to make person-to-person calls or anything like that. You've literally got to hold the thing, point it at the satellite, hold it still, and then you can send a text message. And you could be having to stand still for like up to a minute trying to get that message sent through. It's not perfect, but it once again, if it saves lives, if it saves a life, I think that's a nice feature to have. I sort of feel like that's a nice little insurance policy, I guess, for people who are going to be traveling or going into areas where they don't have good cell coverage.
Yeah.
For that money, though, I'd buy a Starlink and just put that in my backpack.
Well, that's another thing, of course. If you are the sort of person who's going in and doing that, you should just have a GPS locator with you. That's the most logical thing to do. Yeah. But I guess it's for people who get caught out, I suppose.
I was going to say, because the rescuers are going to be like, all you brought out was an iPhone with you. And they're going to laugh.
I'm curious to learn more about the back end of this, because Apple said they had to set up relay centers. I'm curious what that looks like.
Yeah, I think it was very interesting. They showed a little bit about, obviously the problem is when you're doing text messaging back and forth, that's a lot of data for a satellite. And so when you say you have an emergency, it asks you all of these questions that commonly would be asked in such a situation. Who's hurt? Where are you? What's your condition? Are you okay? Do you have water, etc.? Which is very smart, because I wouldn't have thought of that. And you answer all these questions, and then when you get the satellite connection, it sends all of that. So they have all the information there. It's not a back and forth, which is great, because you can have the satellite, access for maybe a number of minutes, or maybe your phone is, not going to be there for the question of, okay, where are you? Anything like that. So it's cool that it does it all at once. It's interesting that it's free for 2 years. I have a feeling that they're going to bundle this into one of their Apple bundles or Apple Care or something like that.
I think you're right.
Sort of upsell that.
I was just going to ask, what do you think it's going to cost for 2 years?
I don't think I'll ever charge for it properly. Yeah. It's probably just it's just a trial sort of phase at this stage. I mean, in this country where there are large areas of space without any population, if you're going on a road trip, you wouldn't necessarily think to take like a sort of GPS emergency thing with you. I'm just driving from here to here. But you could theoretically find yourself with the car broken down or something like that, and absolutely no cell coverage and no one else around, sort of thing. So I guess, for those sort of circumstances, I think it's, it is a good thing.
Yeah.
Or
hiking.
Don't get me wrong. I think this is a good thing to have, and it's a good start with the phone, as far as having emergency communications. And being that, they were limited on what type of antenna they could put on the phone without putting like a big old honking, satellite antenna. Being that you could send a short, quick message, via text, I think that's a really good thing. Even when you're like, say you're on a highway somewhere, and there's no cell coverage in that area. But I mean, today's age, there's pretty much cell coverage on every mile of highway nowadays.
Yeah.
But there's some places that do not have cell coverage.
I mean, it's making satellite communications for emergency accessible to the common people like us. I mean,
Yes.
Someone that hikes all the time, or they're gonna own a satellite phone. They already have one. So I think it's gonna be interesting what they're gonna do with this. I don't see myself ever using this now, but it might develop into something a lot cooler.
Yeah. I think people will find that they'll use it more often than they thought they would, right? Like, it might just be you broke your leg or your ankle out hiking in a national park or something, and you just don't have the cell signal to use it, and you just need to call for, a ranger to come get you, and that's what this would help you with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I was
it's
also thinking it kind of. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's useful to have, but especially for people that, satellite phones are expensive and they're big. And if you're just going out for a summer vacation out to a national park, I wouldn't imagine you would invest in a satellite phone. So
Yeah.
already having it in the phone that you own is pretty awesome, I think.
Mm-hmm. But where are you most likely to have an accident? When you're out hiking, climbing a 40,000-foot mountain,
When you least expect
sprinting
it.
in the desert. What is that fall detection and heart rate monitoring and all that stuff gonna do if you have to sit there for a minute and hook up to a satellite for the SOS to go out?
You better hope one of
There's
your
enough,
arms.
right?
Yeah.
I think
So-
that'll be a future thing. When they improve whatever. I think that this is the start of something. They have these relay centers and all this stuff. Who knows? 5 years from now, Apple's going to launch their own satellite, because then they're not going to have to be within the constraints of whatever satellite they're connected to. And then that'll be an extra feature or whatever. So when you fall, you crap yourself, you're in a car crash, Apple's going to have a little drone that comes over to you saying, hey, do you want to renew your Apple Care so we can rescue your broken ass?
Will it have a menu option at first?
Your Face ID,
yourself?
okay, and they come and grab you.
You want to apply
Face
for the
ID,
Apple
like-
Card while you're at it.
Yeah, since your Face ID isn't detecting, you're missing half your face.
But you can bet that next Apple event, there's going to be some testimonials of people that fell off a cliff or did something stupid that used this to get help. Guaranteed.
I want to see how the people review this, and get I'm sure Apple's going to set them up with the proper way to review this, because otherwise you'll have a bunch of lawsuits.
How's this crash detection going to work when Grudy throws his phone in fury?
We're sending emergency services to you.
It looks like you've been in a car crash and it was really, really bad.
Well, they tie it to the iCloud account. It's like, oh, Greg, never mind. He
right.
didn't-
False alarm.
Again. What ticked you off this time?
I've just had a quick look to see what the pricing is of these new phones here in Australia. If I was after an iPhone Pro Max 14 with 512 gigabytes, that's going to set you back 2,400 Australian dollars.
Balls.
How high up does the capacity go? Because the entire
terabyte.
event,
Terabyte.
yeah, so no increase in capacity. They
No,
didn't bring up
capacity is
the word
identical
capacity
to the
once.
13. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's mine.
I mean, even to the point that okay, it's different with the Pro, but even just the other iPhone 14, they're using the A15, same as the 13. You didn't even see a CPU bump for sort of for those base models, which I think's a bit slack.
I wonder
with that too, because they're like, oh, our 2-year-old phone was already so much faster than the competition. They're still catching up, so we don't really have to run all that hard now.
I have a feeling that they're going to eventually just instead of the A series, it's just going to go to the M1 chips, just like the iPad and the M2 and everything. So I think this might be one of the last models where it's like the A15 is specifically for the phone or whatever. And I think they just who knows.
I was going to say I think they still want to if you buy a phone next year and it has the M1. And now they're already on M3 or whatever, then you're going to be like, oh, well, that's the old one. I don't want to.
So they'll just have an M1 and call it an A17 or something.
Exactly, yeah. Right, I think the naming might be weird, but also, that's a heck of a powerful chip at the palm of your hand, though. So.
I guess really what it comes down to is it's different if you're a Pro user, but if you have an iPhone 13, not the Pro, and then this 14 comes out, what motivation do you have to upgrade from a 13 to a 14? And I would say very little.
You are thinking about it the wrong way. The first thing you do when you buy it is tell all your friends that you have one, so that you can show off.
So it's bragging rights. Yeah.
It's like, what are you going to do with all that power? Well, same thing I do every day. Check Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. That's it.
But I can do it in an emergency now.
Yeah, if I get in trouble with my Facebook, I can text somebody, please, I don't have Facebook.
I think just like we were talking about in the Maciac chat room or the Discord is a lot of people care about what it looks like, right? Does the new phone look different from the old one? And the iPhone 14 Pro does look different with the dynamic island, right? So I think if you have a 13, whether that be a Pro or a base model, I don't think you really have a good reason to upgrade unless you're going to the
GT or microphone's bad again.
Microphone dead, GT.
Yep. Go look all smug. Don't look all smug. It happened to you too.
I don't care what the damn phone looks like. Here's a 3G. If this took great photos and had all day battery life, yeah, cool. I don't care what it looks like.
Yeah, let me see it powered up.
No, the thing in the back, no good. No good.
All day battery life.
I was kind of going off the sentiment in the chat room.
Webpage.
Oh, it looks the same. Like when they saw the 14 compared to the 13, it's like, well, I mean, what do you want it to be, like a circle? Like they can't change the design. And
the form factors of these are getting to a point where it's always going to be this candy bar style shape until they have a fruit roll up shaped iPhone with the bendable screen. It's yes, and it's just one of those things where people are just these 12-year-olds are like, yeah, look the same. What do you expect them to do? It's a square screen. Come on.
Well, what I was going to say before my mic cut out on me was that unless you're looking at the screen itself, the 14 Pro looks just identical to the 13 Pro and the 12 Pro. Even the cameras on the back look pretty much identical. So you're not going to be able to tell the difference unless they turn it on the screen like, oh, I have the dynamic island, see? But
I like the design of it. It kind of reminds me of the iPhone 4, which was a very sturdy.
Yeah, look at that.
Nice design.
One thing we didn't talk about yet that Apple actually put into the new iPhone 14 and the 14 Pro is there is no more SIM tray. So they went to totally eSIM on both phones. In the US only.
Really
in the US only.
Yeah.
So
I haven't actually looked to see if I've got the Australian one here open, so I can always have a look at the tech specs. But that's a really interesting thing because one of the sort of points that was made is that using eSIMs is not ideal. It should be, but a lot of the providers haven't really ironed out the process. I mean, I was watching a Snazzy Labs video last night. He was saying that when he had to get an eSIM, he had to go into the store. And that kind of defeats the purpose of anything. And so where I see it potentially being a problem is people who want to travel. who might be going to different places, maybe to a different country and want to just swap a SIM out, something like that. I see that as being a potential issue with it. But assuming that they can kind of iron out all of the issues with setting up an eSIM, I think it's going to be the way they all go.
Well, from what I read so far, the iPhone 14 Pro is supposed to be able to store up to, I think it's 16 eSIMs, but only 2 can be active at any one time. So in other words, you can actually have 2 active at the same time. So you can have, like, for instance, a personal eSIM and a work eSIM on the same phone. Something that Apple has never done before as far as putting 2 SIM cards in, except for aftermarket, folks that, made like a double SIM card.
I thought
They have
like
eSIM
one
now.
of the XRs or whatever had the dual SIM.
No, the 13 Pro, you could do an eSIM and a physical SIM, but you couldn't do
Yeah.
2 eSIMs at the same time. Now with
Yeah,
the
I think you'll hit some people having issues with this eventually, initially, but I think once all these phones go to eSIM, then it will be an issue.
Well, that's the reason why they're only doing it, from what I've read so far, they're only doing the eSIM or the SIM trayless phones are going to be in the United States only. In other countries, they're still going to have SIM trays in it because a lot of the other countries, especially Europe, have not fully adopted the eSIM standard.
Well, there's also a decent amount of privacy and security implications. You're not going to find anyone that a government instance or whatever that fully trusts a phone that you can either not remove the battery from or you cannot remove the SIM card from. With the iPhone now, you can do neither. Sure, it's on airplane mode. Sure, you powered it off. Is it really off? You don't know. So, I'm curious to see what people, and there are people that are going to test this, what they're going to find.
They are releasing an adapter though, because this right here will solve it.
Oh, God. Oh, that looks like a Dana Siberia thing almost.
Yeah, it's not, but it's right in that same.
I know. That's funny though. But that's one of the things that I found interesting was the eSIM thing. Was they're basically pushing this hard, and that's what Apple does. Is they always have done this where they push stuff out before the rest of the market is ready for it. So I think they're trying to push this out now to get these other providers to actually do eSIMs now.
Oh yeah, they're in a very particular position, just like they were with the original iPhone and AT&T, with 3G and having your phone being able to access the internet while you were on a call. All these things they were pushing and pushing and pushing. They had these requirements, and as a huge technology company, they're able to say, "Look, we expect this to be able to do this. This will be the standard going forward." And sometimes it works out great. Sometimes they hit hurdles along the way. I mean, how long was Apple saying FaceTime was going to be an open standard, and it's now you finally, as of last year, have it in the web if you jump through some hoops and you have limited experience there. But what did that take us from 2009 or something like that? After a decade of FaceTime. So I think the promise is very nice, but you know how slow these big telecom companies are.
I mean, think of visible voicemail from the very first iPhone. I mean, that was a really, really important feature, and they could not do it without the sort of changes with the service providers.
And AT&T to provide that. Yeah, you're right.
Which we
Apple-
don't have out here.
The first time I ever saw visual voicemail, I was like, "This is freaking amazing." Now I don't use
The
voicemail at all.
nano SIMs and micro SIM cards. Apple was, at least as far as I know, one of the first phone manufacturers to start putting in these smaller form factor chips so that they could reduce the size of their phones. And that was something that I remember back in the day. We would cut our SIM cards to get them working on our iPhone. And I guess Apple pushing forward to making the SIM cards even smaller, where they're just digital now. I would imagine in a couple of years, other countries would start moving to this eSIM standard.
Oh yeah,
I don't know anything about eSIM, but I'm
big
curious. Does that mean that AT&T can no longer sell a phone that is locked to that carrier? I mean, if you can have 5, 6, 7 accounts with an eSIM, there's no more carrier lock, is there?
That's a good question, Jay, and I don't know if anybody's answered that yet.
The
But
telecom companies will always find a way to screw you over. Do not worry.
But I did
That's
read
true.
where T-Mobile is actually letting people what they call a try before you buy thing, where they will let you try with the eSIM their service for like a week or whatever, full access and everything, so you could see how their service works. And this is a good way to get people to come onto their service. If you know, if
I
they
can
do
tell
that.
you how T-Mobile works.
Well, I have T-Mobile now.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I had no choice because Sprint got sucked into T-Mobile. So
Mhm. Yeah. Well, even back in the day, Verizon used to CDMA, GSM. I forget which one Verizon used to be, but they didn't even have SIM cards. It would be the old
Yeah.
where you had to call and activate it. So hopefully
And
we're
those
not going back to
phones-
those days. So,
and remember that back when that happened, you couldn't take a CMDA phone and go to a like AT&T or something with GSM.
yeah, that wasn't
When
until
Sprint,
like the iPhone 7 or something where that
the
became kind of.
The 5 or 6.
5 or the 4S, one of those.
Yeah.
I see.
when Sprint first got the iPhone, pretty much my entire day at Apple was on the phone with Sprint because people couldn't activate their phones. If they restarted it, it would lose connection. Sprint had no training, their service center, on how to deal with it. It was a disaster. I've never wanted to quit as bad as I did back then. It was horrible.
Well, I was one of those that switched to Sprint right away when Sprint first came back because I had Sprint and then I switched to AT&T when the iPhone came out, but I switched back to Sprint with the iPhone 4, the 4S rather, is when it came out.
I'm
I
still
just
with
want
AT&T.
Just want to jump in and say Telstra and Optus, for any Australians who are watching. I just thought I'd mention some Australian company names, some Australian providers, just to be inclusive.
Yep.
Woolworths.
All right. Anything else on the iPhone before we move on?
Yeah,
not.
since we are talking about carriers, I know that AT&T, T-Mobile, and I think like the big 3 carriers all have trade-in discounts where you can essentially get your iPhone. If you trade in like a 12 or newer, they give you $1,000 in credit. So it's kind of like you're getting a new iPhone 14 Pro for free, except you're locked into like a contract of some sort. So
Yeah.
I'm considering
They've been
doing
really
that.
aggressive with these trade-in deals for the last 2 years because they desperately want the older devices off their networks. They even send people free iPhone XS, I believe. That's the oldest that can be on the AT&T network soon, or already maybe. It's like, get off. We'll give you money. Just go. Crazy.
Right.
All right. So I think that's everything that got put out in the show. They didn't talk about when iOS was going to be released, but I think, Jay, you found out the date.
No,
September
they had
12th,
it
I
in
believe.
And the thing.
The 12th? Okay, so that's
It's always the fall.
Monday.
Now, I know it wasn't
Yeah.
part of the event, but is anyone excited about iOS 16 and watchOS 8?
Yeah.
The thing I'm
Nice.
excited about mostly, and I wanted to try it with you guys on my iPad because I'm running the beta on there from day one, is the editing text messages. That is going to be nice to be able to do.
Yeah, I still see that as pretty damn pointless because it's only going to work. It's only going to work
I have
with
the
people.
new beta on my phone.
If you're talking to other people with the same feature, that's fine. But obviously, if you're communicating with anyone outside of the Apple bubble or with someone using a device that is older, then those editing features don't work.
Yeah, and you could see the previous edit. So if I called, Bruce a jerk and then redacted it and said Bruce is a nice person, he's going to see I called him a jerk.
You
So-
never redact it.
Yeah, but wasn't that one of the major selling points for Snapchat? I think it was. You can have messages that expire after a while. People just take a screenshot or a picture.
Yeah.
Oh, but we're encouraged not to do that. I just thought I'd let you know. Snapchat have said to us, we encourage you not to take screen snaps of these things.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But it's
Yeah, telling people not to do something always works well.
Our use or a license agreement says.
There used to, I think it was one of those apps. They actually tattled on you if you took a screenshot. It would tell the other person.
Snapchat started that. Yeah.
I think WhatsApp used to have
but
that
even
too.
if it tells the other person, you've already taken it. So,
Bye. Yeah.
I think editing a message after the fact is very useful. I mean, I use it on Discord all the time. I make a typo, and instead of adding 5 lines trying to correct myself, I just click edit, change it, and I'm done. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think
People that make a typo with autocorrect, they just say it again, and then they say it in all caps 5 more times, and it keeps autocorrecting because the phone is like, screw you, I know what you're trying to say. This
Like,
is what you're trying to
phone.
say.
Yeah.
So I end up
Like
with a chat log this
capitalizes
long.
Bruce all the time.
Yeah, every time somebody wants to say something and it says duck instead.
I curse like a sailor, and I hate that my phone tries to correct me. Let me be me.
if
Yeah,
you
mine
dictate
stopped
it, though,
trying.
like if you speak it, it'll get it right.
Well, if you're Grudy and ever try to use Siri, he said it about 20 times and it still never comes out right. So
Oh wait,
Yeah.
wasn't that a new feature? The auto punctuation? That's gonna save Grudy's butt.
Yeah.
Although you have to make sure your beard hair isn't in front of your mouth so it can understand you. So trimming
Well,
it.
baby steps. Yeah.
So I think we really should talk about something important. Now, I unfortunately haven't had a chance to see the Apple event yet. I've basically just been doing research about stuff that have been written about it. How was Chris's hair?
He wasn't
He
there.
wasn't on there. He wasn't on there.
What the hell?
Chris,
He
who?
wasn't.
Chris
there.
Ferengi.
Ferengi.
Oh,
His name is Chris.
He was
No, it's
charging up
Craig.
his hair for the
it's Craig.
Greg.
Craig.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Greg.
Craig.
Ferengi.
That was Craig.
Hey, Chris's
Yeah,
hair
he
was
wasn't
great.
there.
Greg's was not.
He's like 8 feet tall, and his hair adds another 6 inches to that.
Yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't on this one actually.
No, they reserve
well,
him for the
Kate-
Apple stuff.
Kate did like an outfit on there, didn't you?
Jay, you didn't like
The
the way
jumpsuit?
that
Really? The inflated
yes,
jumpsuit?
the yellow
Come on.
jumpsuit that the lady was wearing.
Oh.
I thought
Easy to find in
I
the
would-
crowd.
I loved her outfit. But
I'm sitting here because I was working and I was watching it on my laptop, and from the other room I hear my wife like, "What the hell is she wearing?"
oh
Like,
no.
yeah, I don't get it.
Does he look like a banana
Yeah,
or
that
somebody
got
other
run
Worst
over.
game of Where's Waldo ever.
character on Veggie Tales?
But what's funny about that is that when she was chatting about, I'm pulling up the chat now. She's like, "Oh, I really like her outfit."
I liked her outfit. I thought it was cool. That's me. I have funny outfit choices sometimes.
Hmm. Next time
Hey.
on Macintosh Librarian, pink jumpsuit.
Pink jump? Yellow jumpsuit. Although that jumpsuit is probably like $1,000 because I looked at some of the previous presenters' outfits and they are like designer $1,000 outfits. And so
Okay, the shoot's done. Take it off. We got to return it.
right, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that could be a whole video series on its own, like analyzing the clothes that they wear during this. Like, oh, did he really just wear $10 sneakers to this event? Really? Is that a thing?
So yeah, Kate's little comment only was 4 words. I like her outfit. I had to go back. And
So
find it.
speaking of outfits, that rhymes with outlets. Isn't that an X topic, GT?
That would be something I'm going to throw over to Jay because he's the one that did that.
Subtle
Good.
segue ensues.
Yes.
Well, I blame Retro Techie for this, and he's not even here, so we could skip it. But
Banned for life, I'm afraid.
I was gonna have him come on.
10 or so years ago, I found myself in a position where I needed Ethernet in a place I couldn't get it. Wi-Fi barely reached, so I had to run a cable through the living room, pissing off my wife. Anyway, I looked into those adapters that you put in your power outlet, and you use your power line to basically extend your Ethernet with. It was unreliable at best, and on the best of days, it just barely got any good reviews. So I got a question from Retro Techie about a week ago. Said, "Hey, do you know anything about this?" I'm like, well, a decade ago it sucked, but I don't know what it's like now. And I started looking into it. And some of the reviews of this were actually quite good, because it used to be the case that if you weren't on the same breaker, on the same circuit, forget about it. It could not jump circuits. Now, these boxes are smart enough to detect the best frequency and kind of find each other on the power network, whatever. So I spent $50 and I got them. These are the cheapest one I could find from TP Link. And they arrived, and I plug it in, hit the little pair button, everything blinking the way it should, and I was set. And I did a speed test. And I have the screenshots here. Excuse me.
Okay.
On Wi-Fi, I got 27 megabits down, 16 megabits up. And this is a computer behind this wall, on the other side of the house, behind another wall. And the Wi-Fi is right there on top of this rack, with a latency of 100 for the download and 440 upload. Okay, but this was enough to watch YouTube videos, 1080p from Plex, so it was fast enough. Excuse me while I cough. Yeah, so then I hooked up these boxes. And I'm pretty sure right now I'm on the same circuit, because one of the boxes is right there under that desk. That's the only outlet I had available. And then straight across the living room. I went to Ethernet, and now, so I went from 27 down, 16 up, to 172 megabits down, 143 up, with a latency of just 20. So that's a massive improvement. And the old connection, the crappy Wi-Fi, was already enough to do everything, up to 1080p streaming. So this, massive improvement, and it showed, because the backups that computer runs every day finish in a fraction of the time now, because it's so much faster. So yeah, if you have a situation that you need Ethernet somewhere where you can't get it, give this a try. I can't speak to how good it works over different circuits and all that. I haven't tested it yet, but for $50 to get Ethernet in a place where you otherwise really couldn't get it, it's worth a shot. And I mean, it's Amazon. You test it out for a few weeks. If it doesn't work, you return it. So, yes, Steve.
Steve has a question.
What does the question? What does the box say about gigabit? Is it just saying it supports it, or is that like the theoretical maximum if these things were like a foot apart?
Oh, the word gigabit is plastered all over this thing, but that's just because the Ethernet port is gigabit.
Got it. That's what
yeah, and you have a little app. Actually, give me 1 second. I can pull that up. I should have done that to begin with. There we go.
I think it's an interesting concept, because I remember using the telephone ones where it was just, move a telephone.
Oh, crap,
out.
That existed?
Yeah.
I remember that.
I remember troubleshooting one, and they weren't on the same breaker because the technology was limited back then. But like you said, there have been improvements, which is it's nice. It's smart to revisit these things after a few decades, see if it's better.
Right.
So here's that little app from TP Link. It says the connection between the two boxes is 627 megabits. That's definitely not the test I got, but I tested it with
2 inches apart.
An online server. So I didn't test computer to computer. So this might be accurate on the local network, but it wasn't for my internet speed test. But yeah, it's neat. It's you can set it up. Oh, sorry. You have quality of service settings, like what kind of traffic do you prefer, and it'll try to focus on the quality of that. And it's neat. And for $50, can't really go wrong.
No,
700, 600 megabits is pretty good. That's comparable to my Wi-Fi 6 setup that I have in my house. So that's impressive.
Yeah. Now
Computer
there's
for backups and file transfers.
yeah. And of course, the mileage is going to vary across circuits. And if it's on the same circuit as your microwave and you heat up a lunch, it's probably going to take a hit, stuff like that. But I still have to test all that. For now, I'm pretty happy about it, though. So, how old is the wiring? It was built 100 years ago, and from the looks of it, the wiring was put in around the same time. Very old. Very, very
Please
old.
tell us it's not the knob and tube wiring.
Some of it is.
Oh god.
Yeah. But hey, I ran an Xserve cluster on it, so it's built to last.
What's the model of that one there again? There up there.
This is the TP-Link AV1000.
Okay. AV.
So not 840 AV, but AV 1000. Okay.
I would never buy it if it said
Ah,
840
triggered.
AV.
I'd buy it just because it said that.
So that is
I got
76
the slower
Australian
one.
dollars here. Okay.
I gotta recap it.
And you
I
can
used
this
similar.
kit is $50, by the way, but you can add a third box for $20 more. The thing is, what they say, the more boxes you add, the slower it all gets. So don't go buying 50 of these. It's probably not going to work.
That's definitely good for going from floor to floor. Like if you have a multi-story house, it's really hard to get Ethernet. Or I'm sure a professional could do it, but I wired the Ethernet in my upstairs. But the downstairs was tough because there's not many places you can just drill through the floor. So having something like that could definitely be useful for floor
That's
to
the reason
floor.
why when I built my place, I had them put Ethernet in every room.
Mm.
2 in the bathroom.
Yes, even there. No,
Yeah,
just kidding.
definitely.
No, I didn't put it there.
Hey,
Well, they actually,
would.
when they built this place, they actually put it Wi-Fi repeaters on
Hey,
the
buddy.
second floor and the third floor. So we have those as well. That they basically just act as repeaters. They're not really. They take whatever the Wi-Fi password is off of the main router and just basically rebroadcast is all it does.
That's
But,
generally how repeaters work.
Yeah. So it works out pretty good. It's built into the house, so everything's all wired Ethernet. In fact, it's Ethernet hardwired from the router to those repeaters. They're not. It's not Wi-Fi to those repeaters.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
These do not, even though they're connected to power, they do not support power over Ethernet, which sucks because I would have hooked up all my cameras to this.
Well, that's probably because you
That
got to
up
look
to
at
a
what
router,
you can
right?
do.
Okay. You could hook that up to a router or a switch and then
Yeah,
Have
that's
that-
how I have it now, but it's not really nerdy
Oh.
enough for me. I would like to,
I get it now.
but it works.
It's not power over Ethernet. It's Ethernet over Powerline. Ah.
Yeah, I got it all messed up. That's still neat.
Uh,
Thank you for being the guinea pig and testing that.
Yep. So now everybody buy one. I will have an affiliate link in the description later. I should have done it beforehand.
I would say that I have never tried it before, but I actually have done it in my old place that I lived at before here, and it wasn't a very pleasant experience. It's like Jay's first experience with it. Didn't work worth the crap, and I basically ripped it out and didn't use it anymore.
Yeah.
My first Ethernet wiring was 2 phone cables twisted together. It worked, kind of.
Did it,
I
yeah,
used 2
as long as
cables
it
and a
worked.
string.
It was a
All right,
similar
guys.
situation to what Kate was saying. There wasn't enough room to run a cable, so
Oh,
there was a data phone line and a regular phone line, so I made it work.
I'm lucky in this house that whoever lived here before had coax cable running through every room, 2-3 cables per room, 5 dishes on the roof. They must have been obsessed with television, which is great because I just duct taped Ethernet cable to the coax, pulled it through the
Pulled
wall,
through.
and got it throughout the whole house,
yeah.
except that side of the house. So.
As awesome.
My
right, guys,
previous
anything
tenant
else?
was lazy, and they just had the cable running up along the stairwell and across the floor.
That is
Oh,
nice.
I've done that before myself, so hey. All right, guys. Anything else before we probably call it a night tonight? I know we got a couple more topics, but it's
Has
getting
Dave
real
showed up
close.
yet?
I don't know.
I
I haven't
haven't
looked
seen
at the
him.
chat lately.
He
I
doesn't
think
like
he was here when we
cable.
started.
He opens here. Remember, he doesn't come here at the very end now. He comes at the beginning and then leaves.
I thought
Throwing
he-
our whole groove off, Dave.
Yeah.
Ugh.
All right. Guys, make sure that you hit that subscribe and that like button. And also, hey, Mike, you want to throw out that
He's not here.
smash button? He's not here. All right. So I will go ahead and
There it is.
Smash that like button.
There you go. Make sure you hit that. And we got a cat falling too. So there we go. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We do this every 2 weeks now, not every week. So every what do you say? Week or
Fortnite.
Bi-weekly.
Yeah, or how
Fortnightly.
is it?
Fortnightly.
Fortnite.
Okay. Anyways, so join us here. It looks like we had a pretty good showing tonight. We also have a Discord server. Make sure you go and check that out. We were actually pretty.
Don't all leave at once.
And there we go. It's just gone live. Yes. So make sure you guys check out that video right after the show here tonight. Is it a premiere or is it just went live?
Just a video. I don't do premieres.
You don't do a group.
And now, Kate, where can we find you?
Yeah.
I'm at Macintosh Librarian on YouTube and Mackie and me on Twitter, Macintosh Librarian on Instagram. But put out fun videos with Mackie back here. Fun.
I'm an adult, but I still want to say hello to Mackie. I don't know why.
Stupid, isn't it? I do too.
Yeah, Mackie's been.
You love me, Mackie?
Now.
I need to get him mic'd up so that he can talk. But next time on Mac. I didn't want him to.
When you said that, he went. So,
Yeah, you did.
He's listening back there.
He's
He's
like, these
listening.
people are crazy. Leave me alone.
Before we end this, I know, and it's in the chat now too. There's some kind of geek meetup soon. What's the details on that?
Yes, the yearly dork meetup in Elmhurst, Illinois, known as VCF Midwest. I believe it's the 17th year they've put it on. So VCFMW.org is the URL. I will be there, traveling late tomorrow to get there, and Ron and all these other crazy people, like the folks in the chat, are going to be there as well. The event last year I went, it was my first time there. I did a video on it. It was fantastic. And I'm sure you'll all get a barrage of tweets and photos. And
We
videos.
didn't see that video until a year later, did we?
No, it wasn't the one that took that long.
Okay.
It was like a week or so. But I'm bringing my camera with me. I'll take pictures and stuff. But yeah, it's basically a big Saturday show, and then Sunday, like Peter's off in the middle of the day. But Saturday, it's like an all-nighter, and I'm doing 2 back-to-back panels. So if you like seeing me live go on for 8 hours, you could see me in person going on for 2 hours. It's kind of
Or you could just stream it for those that want to chill at home.
Yeah, you're gonna stream it. That'd be fun.
I don't know if there's the setup to do that, but we'll see. But and Dana is lying to us again. Thank you.
Are you taking a large vehicle with you, Steve?
I am not
Yes,
personally.
he is.
However,
It's called a plane.
but however, I know a good person that could be easily bribed with beige goodies and some gas money, who will be traversing the middle of the country, and the plan is to utilize that as much as my wallet could muster. So this is going to be an expensive and dangerous trip, and I blame all of you.
Cool.
Okay.
So also, there's another thing going on the 8th of October that I'm going to be at, along with Mike. You going to be there? Is Sean going to be there?
Yeah,
Who
that's
is you?
East swap meet.
Yeah, swap meet.
That's in Wall, New Jersey, October 8th. Go to vcfed.org for the information on that. But yeah, that's just a swap meet, not an event or anything. The event I'm going to is like sort of exhibits, talks, and swap meet. But yeah, that's going to be fun. So that'll be cool.
I'd go, but I can't afford the tolls to Jersey. It's a bit too rich for my blood.
Yeah.
You can afford everything up to Pennsylvania, then you gotta
Put it on a credit card or something. Yep.
Jay
All right,
take all
guys.
the back roads and take 24 hours to get there.
Yeah.
I'm here. It happened last week.
It's over.
All right, guys. So that's going to be the end of the show. So we're going to go ahead and end it here. But thanks everybody for joining us on another episode, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. So bye.
Bye.
Adios.